We've got our weekend fantasy preview of starting pitchers coming up in just a few minutes. We'll dive into some probable starters. We've got this weekend, and then we've got next weekend, and then Major League Baseball takes a break for I have to actually check the schedule. It's definitely 3 days. Usually it's 4. Sometimes a couple of teams play on that first Thursday after the All-Star break. And George, in the past, there's a couple of things that I think you and I have experienced in being in this industry for a long time. The first is that if you don't like taking a break in fantasy baseball for 3 or 4 days, you're pretty much crazy, because it was always my favorite moment where I knew for 3 days I didn't have to open up the website at the time or open up an app and make any changes for a few days, because I knew that my team was set. And then the second dynamic is being in this industry, a lot of folks feel like it's time to pivot over to fantasy football. Now, I understand the popularity of football, and here on our network, certainly football for 6 months out of the year drives the bus. But it always did bother me in the past that we, sort of like did all of this prep in February and March, and then April, May, and June, we ran into, the season talking about every day. And then all of a sudden it was like done and football began. And I know you and I also subscribe to a lot of the same theories as far as drafting. Why in the world, I don't know, best ball, you can get ahead of the draft people, like in terms of ADP. Like, to me, it is much more worth it to not have an injured player in training camp and preseason. So I've never really quite, I guess, understood it. I don't know if that's making a lot of sense here, but for me, I do love rolling on with baseball, at least until like training camp opens, until the preseason starts. And I know you and I are still going to get to do that next week here on the show.
Absolutely. I'm all over the place with this. All right. I've already had a couple of football drafts. All right. One's a dynasty league. All right. So I've had that. Another one was another league that whatever started early. Listen, if I had my preference, yeah, I don't know what exact date the NFL starts this season. So let's just say it's September 7th. I'd like to have my draft on September 6th. All right. I don't need to be drafting somebody even in July, doing it now. And that player tears his ACL in camp and I just lost my second round pick. That's frustrating. All right. So, yeah, I prefer to have my drafts as late as possible here. Love baseball. I am one of those guys. I am not happy about the All-Star break, Craig. All right. That Monday and the home run
I
derby,
like it.
fine. I'll record it. The home run derby, and I'll watch it now because it takes forever. The All-Star game, fine, I'll watch, but the All-Star game to me is just blah. This is not, once again, back when you and I grew up, the All-Star game meant because the best players would play more of the game. Aaron Judge is not going to be around to determine who wins or loses this game. He's gone for 3 innings, right? 4 at most. You're not going to see the best players. They're done. I just find it kind of weird how that works out, the dynamics there. Then the Wednesday, there's nothing going on. All right, and I'll just start ripping out what stuff of my hair. Thursday, I just checked. There are no games Thursday. I think they got rid of that a couple of years ago. That no teams playing on Thursday unless there's a lot of rain outs, unless they absolutely need it. Everybody gets off that Thursday. It's probably in the CBA that they have to have that day off. So I will be jonesing for Friday big time because there's nothing going on. There's nothing going on Wednesday or Thursday. And by the way, why don't they play the Futures game on Wednesday? And why do they play it on a Sunday in Atlanta, right? And then that just bothers me if they don't play the Futures game on Wednesday. So I would watch that. At least I'd watch it more than I will on that Sunday. But it is what it is. All right. Like I said, football, I prefer to draft as late as possible, but I have drafted. I think we got the Scott Fish draft, I think in a couple of weeks that starts up again here. And then come August, I'll be having drafts probably every other day, it'll seem like. So look forward to it. But I'd rather draft as late as possible.
Yeah, it's a good point, by the way, that you make with the Futures game. But I don't know if you know this, but they moved 2 years ago the Futures game from Sunday to Saturday. The Futures game is now Saturday.
That's right. Isn't that worse?
Well, what they've tried to do, and by the way, you can agree, George, or disagree, but what they're trying to do, and they're still trying, is to make the draft a bigger thing. So the draft is Sunday night. In this year it's in Atlanta, so they'll have the draft in Atlanta. The success of the NBA draft and the National Football League has kind of forced the hand to make baseball a bigger deal. I think it's been a success, more of a success than it had been previously. I look, it's not going to ever be at the level of the second round of the NBA, forget about, but the first round of the NBA and the NFL draft, we know it's not going to get there, but by having it in Atlanta or wherever it is last year in Texas. I was at that one and the one in LA a couple of years before that. It has become a bigger deal. So I think some of that makes sense. But your point is valid too. The only thing that I would ask is there enough time to get the kids who are playing in the futures game back to their minor league baseball sites if they play on Wednesday, because minor league baseball starts up right away.
Oh, if they wanted to do it, they could do it. It's a small gripe. I think they play the AAA All-Star game on that Wednesday. I'm not 1,000% sure, but that might be what they do
That's the
there.
day, right?
I
The
think.
slowest
I
day of the year, right, in baseball is the Wednesday after, right? Like that's the day, right?
It's just it's awful. It's just awful. Yeah. And by the way, you want to make the draft better. We all know how to make the draft better. It'll never be the NFL, mind you, but if you want to be somewhat equivalent to the NHL, NBA, you have to allow trading of draft picks. I mean, if you want to do it, that's the way. It's the only way. The only way anywhere near the common fan is going to watch or pay attention. All right, because we don't know the players. All right, it's baseball. You're not going to see these players generally for a few years anyway. I understand some will make it in a year, but this is not football where they're going to play, in September. It's not basketball. Same thing. They're going to play in November here, or even the NHL where a couple of players will play in October. No, it's going to take a few years here. If you want more eyeballs and more coverage, you need to be able to trade draft picks. You hear that the Pittsburgh Pirates are trading the number one pick for so-and-so, guess what? People are going to be paying attention because draft picks matter. They understand that. And players, if you're trading for players,
Mm-hmm.
wow. Giancarlo Stanton got traded for a four, that sort of thing. This is the first player
Right.
that came to mind. All right, so that would get more eyeballs on it, but they don't want to do that.
Are you somebody that is excited next week when players report to NFL training camp late next week? Is that a big date for you?
No, no, it's not. Will I pay attention? Sure. Everyone looks great. They're in the best shape of their careers. They all say this. You'll see all the highlights there. I start doing real heavy prep work probably in a couple of weeks. End of July here is when I'll start getting ready for my fantasy leagues. Like I said, I had the dynasty draft, but that's just rookies and stuff like that. The Scott Fishbowl is when I'll really start paying attention where I want to go with that. But no, I mean, I enjoy it. I'm happy. But I am not somebody, I can't wait for football season to start. I live in the Northeast. I want to enjoy my summer. I can
Yeah,
wait.
it's true.
All right, it's coming. Either way, it's going to come. I know it's coming in September. 2 months. All right, it'll fly by. It always does here. But I am not. I can't wait for the football Sunday. I thought that was going to be a good team. It'd be the same thing. I can wait. I'm patient here. I'll enjoy my baseball season.
I've always said that, for me personally, my radar for football goes up the day that they have that Hall of Fame game. Like at that, and then I watch for like 10 seconds and realize it's worthless. But when that happens, I think for the industry, I think that's when fantasy football mode begins. So for me, the month of July still belongs to baseball. But truth be told, when you get to August, and at this point, you have 75% in fantasy baseball that are not playing in head-to-head playoff leagues are out. At that point, I sort of get it. But to pivot over now on July 4th or July 5th, when there's still so much time to play, I mean, you have 77 games or something like that left. Like anything can happen over the course of the second half of the baseball season. It's just a long season to be played. All right, coming up next, we've got our weekend fantasy baseball preview. We'll go through some potential starting matchups this week, including some really good ones between the Reds and Phillies. We'll preview that and a whole lot more. You're watching Fantasy Sports today here on a Sports Grid. Also, don't forget, coming up Sunday morning, you have Fantasy Sports Today with Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker. Knowing Joe the way that I know him, I can't imagine some football is not part of the content this weekend. So make sure you catch that show as well. And then I will be back to recap the full first half of the fantasy baseball season today. Also coming up in about 15 minutes, Ray Albright will join us from Razzball. Don't go away.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports. Today here on SportsGrid, let's take a look at some of the weekend matchups in fantasy baseball, George. Let's start off with the Rays and Twins this weekend in Minneapolis. It's Taj Bradley. The Twins have yet to announce a starter for Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have Drew Rasmussen taking on Joe Ryan. Neither teams love scoring. In particular, the Twins love scoring less than the Rays do. Like I said, I saw Minnesota, George, play in person this week. I was really not impressed.
No, they can't hit here. All right. They've been struggling on offense most of the season long. And they've almost seemed to pack it up when Pablo Lopez got hurt, right? Struggling there. We don't know who's going to pitch for them. I'll certainly be on the Rays this weekend. Like I said, take the unders here, take the Rays. They did lose last night, Bader with the game-winning home run in the bottom of the ninth.
Okay, Cardinals and Cubs on Saturday. We have Matthew Liberatore facing off with Drew Pomerantz. I guess Pomerantz is going to get the opening start. And then Sunday we have Eric Fedde, and the Cubs have yet to announce a starter. So, George, I would ask you this brief question here. Have you seen Drew Pomerantz's earned run average out of the bullpen this season?
I have not. Now, I'm going to say from the way you're sounding, it's not good. Yeah. It might
Would
be
you like
over.
me to inform you?
You should give me an over-under here. I would probably take the over anyway. I'll see what's
Okay, I'm
north
going to
of
give you an
5.
over-under. This is going to be a fun game, AJ, so play along. I'm going to give you an over-under of 3.5 for Drew Pomerantz out of the bullpen.
Well, I said if it was 5, I would take the over. I'm still taking the over. He's either pitched really bad or really good now.
Okay, so you're going over 3.5?
I'm going over.
Okay, that's incorrect. Now I'm going to give you 2.5 over-under.
All right, well, now I have to go under because now I think it's really good.
Okay, you're under that. So under 2.5, correct? Is that accurate or not?
That's final answer, yeah.
Okay, how about 1.5 over-under?
I'm 1-1 so far. You trying to middle me here? You wouldn't do that to me. Under again. I'm going to go under again.
Under 1.5. How about 1, George? Over-under?
I'm 2-1 so far. Under.
Under, you're 3-1. How about 0.5, George? 0.5 ERA for Drew Pomerantz. You're 3-1. Don't blow it.
What's he pitched? Like 1 inning? Over. I'll say that's the middle.
You lose. Under
Damn.
0.5. Drew Pomerantz has not given up a run this season. None. 0.
Has he pitched?
Yes.
He's pitched 23 innings? Damn.
It shocked me
Wow.
too. I had no idea. He hasn't given up a single run. He's out of the bullpen, clearly. But that's nuts, right? I didn't know that at all.
I wouldn't even known 23 innings. All right, I didn't think he pitched. I would have thought he pitched single innings. 8, 9 innings. I had no idea he pitched 23. Good for him.
How's this
Blast
guy
from the
not an
past.
all-star? He's got to make the all-star team, I think, even with 23
Oh, yeah,
innings.
Matthew Boyd's going tomorrow. They did announce Matthew Boyd tomorrow.
Yeah, that was a fun for our viewers. Okay, Angels and Blue Jays on Saturday. We've got Kachanowicz, I believe. I know it says TBD, but I believe he's starting. I think Max Scherzer is starting today, if I'm not mistaken, for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, he's going to start. I don't know how long he's going to go in the game for you. All right, came out of that game against the Yankees with, I think it was thumb and forearm both, but obviously neither one major to keep him out of his start there. Listen, I certainly wouldn't be betting on Scherzer today in any kind of way, shape, or form here, but I'll bet on Toronto. You might want to watch to make sure if Guerrero and/or Kirk played today. Kirk did pinch hit yesterday. I think it was just a normal day off. Guerrero fouled a ball off his back foot, not his front foot, his back foot in that Thursday game versus the Yankees. He was in some pain there. I don't think it's anything serious. Hopefully he's back in the lineup today.
All right, let's do the Red Sox and Washington Nationals as they match up this weekend. Walker Buehler starts today for Boston and Mitchell Parker for Washington. On Sunday, we've got Garrett Crochet Day for Boston. No announcement for the Nationals as of yet.
Yeah, Nationals have a couple of days in a row here with TBD. So Monday's the same thing. In their game either against St. Louis or Miami. I forget which one now. Buehler, what a disaster that's been so far this year. Maybe he figures it out against Washington. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he takes our advice and walks James Wood. Don't pitch to him. It was really that simple here. Boy, as far as betting, I would probably stay away from this game. Don't feel great about it either way. But we'll see what Buehler can do. I wonder this, if he does pitch better over the next couple of weeks, could he find himself on a new team by the 31st?
Good point there. All right, Reds and Phillies. I think Sunday is really the matchup to keep an eye on. But Nick Lodolo starts today against Ranger Suarez. That's a good matchup. But Sunday, Chase Burns gets another shot, George. I know the first shot didn't go as well as he would have liked to. And Zach Wheeler starts against him on Sunday. Phillies are going to be a big favorite Sunday.
Yeah, Wheeler's been great. The great start earlier this week. Boy, if you started Burns on what was Monday in Boston in a head-to-head league, your week's already over. What do you get? 7 runs in 1/3 of an inning or something silly like that. That does not go well at all. So I'll probably be more curious watching Burns than I will watching Wheeler. I know Wheeler will pitch well. Just want to see what Burns can do here. And today's not bad. Lodolo, Suarez. You and I already like Suarez. Said he might be on the All-Star team, right? Could get picked up there. Lodolo's been solid for the Cincinnati Reds, right? He's been solid. Still, I'm going to like the Phillies in both games.
Royals and Diamondbacks, two teams trying to stay alive in the mix. Saturday, Kansas City has Waka, and Sunday they have Lorenzen. I don't see starters picked out yet for Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona's another team. They're struggling, right? That bullpen's been a disaster. I've got Ryan Nelson going today for them, who, by the way, is be an interesting streamer start for you against Kansas City. Wouldn't say I'd love it, but I think it's an interesting start there. As far as tomorrow in Arizona, we have anybody? DeSclafani. He's back. Anthony DeSclafani starting tomorrow. So we do know who's starting, or we think who's starting for Arizona here. Kansas City starting to hit the ball a little better. Pasquantino hit those 2 home runs last night. They need him to hit here. Going to like this. There'll probably be a split this weekend, but I think we'll get some overs. We get some runs scored this weekend in Arizona.
All right. And finally, Orioles and Braves. I know Schwellenbach is out. Braves still haven't named a starter. Sunday is interesting here, George. Trevor Rogers, all of a sudden for the Blue Jays, who was getting beat up quite a bit, seems to be doing a really good job for them. He's one that I would circle this weekend.
I agree, right? He's figured it out all of a sudden for the Orioles. So, hey, the Orioles might not be quite dead yet. Don't think they're going anywhere, but they might not be dead.
We will take a quick time out on Fantasy Sports Today. Be back with more, including the Subway Series next. Don't go away. More FST ahead.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, Fantasy Sports Today. I am George Kurtz. He's Craig Mish. Well, Greg Albright from Rasball at the bottom of the hour here as we continue our run through Major League Baseball on Fantasy Sports Today. Craig, Subway Series here. I know you can't wait to talk about this. You've been telling me every break how much you love the Subway Series. Yankees and Mets here. Craig, a lot of noise here. Listen, the fans have wanted Aaron Boone gone for years now. They pretty much want Steinbrenner to sell the team. They want Cashman gone. They want Volpe sent down to really to single A here. A lot of noise about the Yankees who have now lost 5 straight coming into today's game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Yankees are panicking a little bit. Fans are panicking. But it just feels the same as every single year. I mean, when your best hitter goes cold, and you don't have Juan Soto, I mean, this is the sort of thing that's going to happen. And so I'm not going to panic if I'm a Yankees fan. You mentioned the Mets. They've won a few in a row. Carlos Rodon starts for them Saturday, Max Fried Sunday. I mean, these are the matchups, George, honestly, that you want if you're the Yankees. But the Mets are playing good baseball here. It's always a fun series.
Yeah, it should be fun, but I can't believe it. Tomorrow's game is not on ESPN. It's not the night game tomorrow, and tonight's game is not on Fox. All right, it's actually 2 afternoon games, which is really shocking for the Subway Series here. The Yankees, you mentioned, you got Rodon going today, Fried going tomorrow. You're going up against Montas today. Fried is going up against some rookie, Waddle, or whoever it is tomorrow. These have to be wins for the Yankees. You've lost 5 straight. You're 5-16 your last 21. I mentioned the first time in Yankee history that the bullpen has taken the L in 5 straight games. There's no one the Yankees can rely on out there. Not good. They scored 28 runs this week in the 5 games. It's 5.6 a game. That's enough. Has to be enough. How many runs do you want the offense to score here? 7, 8 here. The Yankees are having all sorts of problems. Starting pitching, bullpen, defense, all been issues.
Brewers and Marlins, I'll be on the broadcast today again. Back-to-back days for me. I think it's the first time back-to-back days I'll be on their broadcast this year. But Chad Patrick against Cal Quantrill. Patrick, George, one of those nice young pitchers the Brewers have. What a well-run organization the Brewers are. Man, every year they just seem to be right in it. And then Brandon Woodruff is back for the Brewers. He'll pitch on Sunday, George, against one of the hottest pitchers, not just in Miami, but in baseball, in Edward Cabrera.
Tomorrow's the matchup, right? For the reasons you mentioned there. Cabrera's been great. Absolutely great. Will the Marlins move him by the deadline? I mean, you have to wonder right now, does he have more value than Alcantara, right? Because Sandy's didn't pitch well again yesterday. So I wonder if ECAB has the value there. And, of course, Woodruff making his first start this season. Craig, do you expect him to be anywhere near the Woodruff that we're accustomed to? Haven't seen him now in a couple of years. So do you think he's going to be that guy?
Yeah, hard to say. I mean, it's probably not in his first start, but the environment is actually okay to be pitching in Miami for your first start back. But I mean, hard to even remember those days with Burns and Woodruff and Peralta, 1, 2, 3. I mean, we just seem so far removed from that. All right, Tigers and Guardians. George mentioned it. The Guardians are having a hard time scoring runs. We got Casey Mize against Logan Allen, and then the marquee matchup, of course, of Tariq Skubal, the Cy Young Award winner, already in July, probably against Gavin Williams.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a very good weekend for Cleveland. All right, especially not today. I think Detroit beats them up today. Skubal is, I assume he's going to start the All-Star game for the American League. I think he has been the best pitcher. He's fantastic. I think for a while he got a little bored, by the way. He was just pitching to a score, pitching to make sure we win the game, then move on. Had a great start last time. I think he'll be fantastic tomorrow. And he will be lined up. I think the pitcher on actually normal days rest, too, for the All-Star game. So I do expect Skubal to start for the American League in the All-Star game. Good weekend for Detroit, not so much for Cleveland.
All right, Astros and Dodgers will face off today with the matchup that everybody will be watching, with Framber Valdez, who's great for Houston again. George, him and Brown 1-2 are going to be tough to beat in the playoffs. Shohei Ohtani starts for LA. It's like always the big mystery. We hear what he's going to do. Sometimes it actually happens, and sometimes it doesn't. I think the easiest path here feels, George, like 2 innings, right, for Shohei Ohtani, maybe 3. Like the way that they're handling this is just like behind all these curtains. We just don't know. Sunday, no starters mentioned.
I think Gordon's going for Houston tomorrow. Nothing for LA yet. It's rare that I bet against the Dodgers last night, which is something I generally don't do. I'm someone who likes to run line for the Dodgers, and I can't remember the last time I've ever even thought about betting against the Dodgers back-to-back games here. But I'll be on the Astros again tonight. I think Ohtani will pitch well in his 2 innings, and then that's it. They'll go to the bullpen, and it won't end up well for the Dodgers. Valdez will pitch great.
Gray Albright of Razzball joins us next. Don't go away.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, great to be back with Gray Albright from Razzball as we put a bow on the first half of the season. Gray, kind enough to wake up with us every Saturday morning and go over the latest in fantasy sports. He joins us now along with George Kurtz. And Gray, I'm going to start off with, we're getting ready to break here for Major League Baseball. We're getting ready for the All-Star break. We're getting ready for Home Run Derby. A few weeks ago, you and I were talking about the emergence of Pete Crow Armstrong, who's continued that emergence, by the way. He's had a fantastic season. He'll be playing. The focus on today's show, Gray, it seems to be, and I don't know where you were going into the year and like in the future, on James Wood of the Washington Nationals. Like, this is just sort of a phenomenon that's been going on this year. Of course, he was involved in that Juan Soto trade. It seems to me that he's getting the Barry Bonds treatment because he is Barry Bonds on Washington. What do you project sort of over a career, over a season? I'm a little concerned that unless Washington gets him some help, that he's just not going to see anything.
Yeah, no, that is a fair concern. And not to toot my own horn, but in the preseason, there were the three big outfielders that were lined up in drafts. It was Jackson Merrill, Wyatt Langford, and James Wood. And everyone really had them in that order because Jackson Merrill was coming off the huge season. Wyatt Langford had, huge promise, and no one was sure really with James Wood. But in my rankings, I had James Wood first. And I am so glad I did because I drafted him in every league. I was super in on him. I felt like he was like the talent was undeniable. Going back to those other two guys, Jackson Merrill unfortunately had that injury, and Wyatt Langford just can't stay on the field either. So I feel like there was a little bit of luck involved there. They didn't really, they weren't all healthy, and James Wood beat them. But James Wood did win from that trifecta of outfielders. And I just don't really see like his talent, because he is a speed power guy. His talent just is not like until he ages out of the speed, which I don't see particularly happening. He's only 22 years old, so I don't see it happening overnight. Probably not for another 5 to 7 years, maybe. So if he keeps his speed and power, he is basically a top 7, top 5 player overall in fantasy because of 35 homers, right? So we're looking at a 35 homer guy with 25 steals, 285 plus average. You're talking about like the heyday of those great years that are just like the outfielder with the 35, 25, 285, like think maybe Kyle Tucker, just like these great top 5 outfielder years. So yeah, I love James Wood. I don't see this as a fluke at all. I totally have bought in. I feel like he's probably unfortunately the Nationals, like you mentioned, don't really have anyone around them other than like CJ Abrams. But so the runs and RBIs could hurt a little bit, but yeah, outside of the runs and RBIs, I don't see any flaws in his games. And runs and RBIs are fluky anyway, and I wouldn't really, count too much on those with anyone other than, a few key guys on like the Dodgers or maybe Judge. But otherwise, runs and RBIs are hard to count on. So yeah, James Wood, absolutely for your dynasty leagues, keeper leagues, I would be heavily invested.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a fantastic play. In my home league, I got him in the 4th round. Keeper league, no one's getting him for a few years. He's mine, all mine, nobody but mine. Gray, during the break, you and I talked about the Dodgers here, right? Glasnow probably back this week. Snell probably after the All-Star break here. I guess it's a 2-part question. A, what are you expecting from them? How much do you trust them fantasy-wise? And B, what the hell are the Dodgers going to do with all their pitchers once they return here? They're going to have 6, 7 guys. They're going to do a 6-man rotation. Is Dustin May going to come out? What's going to happen with Clayton Kershaw? What's going to happen, Greg?
I think with the Dodgers, it's probably going to be a situation where it's going to figure itself out because there's going to be injuries there. I can't trust Blake Snell or Tyler Glasnow. So Glasnow, I think his high on his career, I want to say, is around 135 innings, and that was last year. But prior to that, he was never really able to stay on the mound. He was always a guy who battled injuries. I don't want to put that on him, but I wouldn't really be surprised if he can't come back and be I don't know, maybe a 3 to 4 inning guy, maybe out of the pen once they get to September, as they, if they're able to keep him healthy, maybe as they move towards the playoffs, have him be a guy who, gives them a few innings a game. I don't think you can't really rely on him for fantasy at this point, outside of maybe a deep league where you're just hoping to get any innings. But other than that, he had a shoulder injury, terrible thing for a pitcher. I'm really out on him. Blake Snell he's been more or less pretty healthy for like the last 4 or 5 years. He's been okay. Unfortunately, he too has a shoulder injury. So, again, I don't know what you can do with that. I mean, unfortunately, you take what you can get, and hopefully you get maybe 30 to 50 innings from both guys. I doubt it. I wouldn't count on it. So I really think the Dodger rotation probably is going to figure itself out when it comes to innings. Kershaw is another guy who really, at this point in his career, he really can't stay on the mound. There's not really a bunch of reliable arms outside of Yamamoto. So I would probably be, if I were the Dodgers, I would be buying at the deadline. Even if it was someone like, if they could get like a Charlie Morton, just someone to give them innings. And I'm not saying Charlie Morton is good, but yeah, I mean, just innings. I think that's what they need.
Yeah, 4 innings. We're going to be at 4 innings with these pitchers, Gray, soon. We're at 5 innings. I know we're going to be at 4 pretty soon too. I don't think I could play the same game with you that I played with George earlier, because nobody's on top of these stats like you are in fantasy baseball. So George and I played a little game before, and George was sort of stunned that today the Cubs, I mean, I guess they're going with Drew Pomerantz as an opener. That would be my guess. But Gray, were you aware of his statistics in July? Like I shocked myself, and then I shocked George. Like, he's probably doing okay, and then you look at it, and okay is not even the stat for this. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, no, he's basically going for the Oral Hershiser consecutive scoreless streak.
Right.
That would be something if it came from a guy out of the bullpen. I have no explanation for it. I think it's just one of those fluky things, because he's not really striking out a ton of guys. He's walking a decent amount. Drew Pomerantz, that is.
Yeah.
But he hasn't allowed a run all year, which is really kind of bizarre.
It is. It definitely so. All right. So as we close it out, Gray, what is your theory on fantasy baseball trade deadlines? Let's get to this, because we're going to close out that pretty soon. Do you feel it should be the end of July, the end of August? Where you stand on that?
I actually kind of like the idea of it lining up with the Major League Baseball deadline. Maybe a week after, just because of once guys get traded, you want to see their new environment. So at that point, maybe you put the trade deadline at like August, 3rd or something, a few days after the Major League trade deadline. But I like that. I like that they're lined up. I think that'd be kind of cool for a fantasy league. I don't have any leagues like that, but I think that would be a good thing.
Well, Gray, thank you again for coming on the show. And, we still talk fantasy baseball. So we'll see you back here next Saturday as we put a bow on the first half of the season. We'll get your surprises, your busts, and everything else as we get into the Major League Baseball All-Star break. Thanks again for coming on with us this Saturday.
Thank you.
All right, Gray Albright with us from Razzball. You could subscribe at razzball.com. Gray and his team all on top of it. By the way, fantasy football season for them starting up soon as well. You're watching FST here on this Saturday morning, July 4th weekend. George and I will be back as we continue our previews of the weekend here on Fantasy Sports Today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. We always end the show with some burning fantasy baseball questions. We don't have any hockey, I don't see, George, this week for you. I mean, I guess we got to wait till the next hockey season begins. We're going to touch on the Diamondbacks. We'll touch on James Wood and a whole lot more as we continue on here on the show until 10 o'clock Eastern. It's time now to play our little game called Buy or Sell. All right, George, let's start off with the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that we definitely, you and I, had high hopes for at the start of the season. I don't think that we thought that they would dominate the division or beat the Dodgers out or anything like that, but it hasn't gone as planned. They signed Corbin Burnes. He gets hurt. Starting pitching hasn't been nearly what we thought it would be. Also, Corbin Carroll's been banged up as well. They're going to have to make a decision in a couple of weeks, George. Will the Arizona Diamondbacks be buyers or sellers? So buy or sell the Diamondbacks, we're going to go with sellers at the trade deadline at the end of the month. Are you buying, George, or are you selling this?
You said it's going to be a tough choice for them because better things were expected from them. As you said, I don't think they ever thought they were going to beat the Dodgers of a division. Nobody really thought that. But certainly they thought they would make the playoffs, right, and be dangerous because you'd have Burnes, you'd have Gallen. All right, let's see what we can do here in a 5-game, 7-game series here. All right, they're 12.5 games behind the Dodgers. They're not winning the West. All right, that's done. They're only 4.5 games back of the wild card. Problem is you got to climb over the Reds, Cardinals, Giants, and then at least one of the Mets, Brewers, or Padres to get into that wild card here. You'll probably need to make an addition. Right? It's not so much the, okay, maybe we won't sell at the deadline, but if you really want to compete, then you have to buy at the deadline. You sort of can't stay stagnant, all right? You either got to go for it or sell out here. So I think they'll be a team, Craig. Yeah, you got 26 days, a little less than 4 weeks. We'll take that time. We'll take that time to decide here. The big name we keep hearing is Suarez, that he could be dealt here. Cubs might be interested. Yankees could be interested. Several other teams, Brewers come to mind as well, that could be interested in him. So they'll have players to sell if they want, but I think they wait till the last minute.
Yeah, this is really, really tough, George, because when I look at the Diamondbacks, I mean, George, do you see a team that's poised to win in 5 years? I see a team that's poised to win now. Like, they just signed Corbin Burnes, and they have a lot of talent on this team. I mean, I'm going to say I'm going to sell them being sellers. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they should just stand pat, and they should just go back into next year if they want to, what I guess some teams call recalibrate with some end of the season free agents. Okay. But my gosh, I don't think this would be a great message to the fans if they were to sell after just going out and signing Burns. I know Burns, by the way, I think out all next year, right, George? Right? Corbin Burns all next year too, probably. Most of
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Look, it's a tough situation, and they just gave. I mean, Jordan Montgomery's out for the year too. They paid him a ton of money too. He hasn't even pitched for them this year. Look, the owners got to be a little bit mad, but I don't know what to say. You got to fight. Okay, so now let's get to the theme of our show. Essentially, that's been James Wood, who's not only going to be an all-star for the Nationals, but also going to be in the Home Run Derby, and he's also been better than Pete Crow Armstrong over the last month. Buy or sell, Wood will finish the season with more fantasy points than Pete Crow Armstrong. George, a few weeks ago, we would have said sell, hit the red button immediately, but now it's possible.
I think this is going to be close here. What have we been talking about all show in regards to James Wood? All right, is that he should get the Barry Bonds treatment. Don't pitch to him. I understand you get a point for a walk in most points leagues, right? So you'll still get points there, but maybe the opportunity to drive in those runs, to hit those home runs, be a little limited here. Plus, generally, not always, but generally, Wrigley Field's a better hitter's ballpark. You know, I understand when the wind's blowing in, maybe not so much, but Washington's definitely a pitcher's ballpark there. I'm going to say no. So I'm going to sell. PCA keeps it up here. They're both pretty much rookies, right? They're both younger players here. So it's even there as far as adjustments and who might go into a slump in the second half here. I'm just going to say with the lineup the Cubs have, you know, you got Tucker, always having a great year. Suzuki, who's been fantastic. They're Happ. They're just more, there'll be more base runners on for PCA, and they'll have to pitch to him. They can't really pitch around him here. So I'm going to say PCA finishes with more fantasy points than Wood. Both great players here. Listen, I'm rooting for Wood heavy here, but I'm going to sell this.
Yeah, I hate to agree with you. I'm gonna agree on this one here. I think primarily for one reason that Pete Crow Armstrong has already banked 26 stolen bases on the season. Now, I mean, he could end up stealing 50. It's possible, maybe not. I mean, he's doubling James Wood on those stolen bases. So in terms of fantasy points, if that's the format that you're playing, I just don't see Wood stealing 25 bases in the second half. I could see Pete Crow Armstrong doing it. Facing Wood in September, George, you know, like who's going to do that? If you're fighting for the play, any playoff team is just not going to pitch to this guy. I mean, if you got to win games, you're just going to let somebody else sell for me. Phillies win the National League East. They're right in it, George. Mets fell back. Now they won a few in a row. Buy or sell, Phillies capture this NL East title.
Probably the easiest one for me. All right. I think the Phillies are the second best team in the National League behind the Dodgers here. You and I talked earlier in the show about that pitching staff. You got Wheeler, who's a Cy Young candidate. Luzardo, who's a nice bounce back guy, right, for the Phillies. Suarez, Sanchez. I mean, that's a nice top four. And remember, they got their top prospect, Andrew Painter, who might join the team at some point in the second half. We'll see what he can do. And I'm a big Painter guy, by the way. And the offense, we may not love Harper's. He's still good here. Schwarber's going to hit 50 home runs or close to it there. And I like the offense. It's Trey Turner's having a nice season as well here. I'm buying this. I think it's the three questions so far. This one's the easiest. Yes, Phillies win the East.
Yeah, I'm on buy mode as well here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Mets are going to have to do something very significant to change my mind. How about Seattle making the playoffs, George? I feel like we do this every year. And every year we're on the fence. You and I see it differently. Buy or sell, they make it this year.
And every year I buy. And I think they're so dangerous that they can just get in the playoffs with that pitching staff. Castillo, Woo, Kirby, Gilbert. Yes, buy, get in. Make a big addition at the deadline. Get some offense. Some more offense.
Why am I going to buy? Sell. Selling. They don't make it. Cal Raleigh and nothing. Be right back.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. As we get ready to wrap up the show, one quick note on the Seattle Mariners, who George and I were just talking about. Yeah, they can pitch. Brian Wu has been sensational for them this season. In fact, he's gone 6 innings and issued 2 or fewer walks in all 16 of his starts this season. That is nuts. Tied with Clayton Kershaw in 2016 for the longest streak to begin a season by a pitcher under 30 years old in the modern era since 1901. It's not the pitching that's the issue, George, for Seattle. They've been a factory there. It's just finding like several hitters to do damage for them. We know Cal Raleigh is one of them.
Absolutely. We said the same thing last year. I remember last year at this time, I was thinking, boy, Alonso would have been a really good addition for them, right? Back when we weren't sure what was going to happen with the Mets here, if they would trade Alonso. And they never make that addition. You know, they don't want to add on money. Now, for whatever it's worth here, Seattle ownership has said they will take on a contract this year. So we'll see if they can find that hitter. You know, they need somebody. I just think they can be very dangerous, especially in the American League, Craig, where, let's face it, I mean, I like Detroit, I do, but there's no great team. No, I think it's whoever's the hottest team in October, I think that's the team that's going to make it to the World Series in the American League.
I would agree. George and I have to wrap up the show here for this Saturday. So the way that we always wrap it up is with a minute of sports commentary. It's time now for the SportsGrid 60. We'll go to George first here. Sorry about that, AJ. George usually starts. Caught me off guard there for a minute. It's all right. AJ's filling in today. It's cool.
That's all right. We'll forgive AJ. My little bitch minute is really what this is, right? I get the complaint for a minute. And this was a little inside for SportsGrid here. One of our producers, and I'm not going to name names, made a trade in his in the SportsGrid, I guess, Producers League. Thanks for inviting me, guys. It's only the fantasy sports show. Maybe I'd like to play. But that's all right, fine. I'll forgive you there. But he's talking about a trade. And Craig and I were talking about earlier in the show that no one trades anymore in fantasy baseball. So I'm happy you guys actually made a trade. But he was asking me what I thought about the deal, which was, it was Jose Ramirez and Brandon Donovan for Teoscar Hernandez, Bryson Stott, and George Kirby was the trade here. Now, generally, the first thing I look at in the trade is who got the best player. Ramirez is the best player. So that's generally a team that won the trade here. That being said, I don't mind the deal. The reason I bring it up is it's more about the vetoes. He was saying a couple of members of his league want a veto of a deal. Why? All right. There's only one reason a trade should ever be vetoed, and that's collusion. All right, that's it. Other than that, there's no other reason to veto a trade here. Because it hurts your team? Too bad. Yeah, well, people veto trades because, well, now I have lesser chance to win. Okay, that's not a reason to veto a trade. They veto a trade because, I wish I would have known about that. I would have made that deal. Not a reason to veto a trade. All right, it's only for collusion when two guys are cheating. That's it. Other than that, even if you think a trade is terrible, all right, guess what? It's the only way they're going to learn. It's not a reason to veto a trade because you think the other owner made a bad deal. And by the way, what makes you think you're God of fantasy? I can tell you so many times where I thought, oh my God, that's a terrible trade. And then at the end of the year, either it was even or the team I thought was getting ripped off won the deal. Weird things happen. All right, let them make their mistakes. Let trades go through. Stop vetoing deals because it hurts your team. It's not the right way to play here. It's also the reason why I don't play in any leagues where vetoes are allowed.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense here. Good points by George here, especially with the trade deadlines coming up. So last week I was not here, as many of you know. I was in Cooperstown, New York. My son was playing in a tournament up there where all 12-year-olds go at the end of their 12-year-old career to play either in Dreams Park, right next to Cooperstown, or All-Star Village, which is about 15 minutes away. The son had a great experience. Our team did very well, and he ended up hitting 2 home runs. But ironically, that's not the story that I'm ending with here today, because apparently last week, not at the place that I was at Dreams Park, but at All-Star Village, a couple of coaches on one of the teams from Illinois decided it would be a good idea to strip down naked and run around the field. This must have been some challenge that they had with the kids. I don't know exactly what it was, but the team was not only disqualified, but the coaches of that team that went all the way to Cooperstown have been fired. So word to the wise, there are cameras everywhere. Why in the world they would do this, I have no idea. Talking about some legal stuff, but who really knows in the end? But coaches, if you're coaching your 12-year-old kids, getting naked should not be on your bucket list for your trip to Cooperstown. That'll do it for the show today, George. I hope you enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here next week. Thanks again to AJ for producing and filling in for Sam. I'm Mish. We'll see you back here next week on Fantasy Sports Today. Have a great one.
We all thought that hire made by the Knicks would be big and splashy and can live on the marquee here in the Big Apple.
He's kind of walking into a situation where he's on the hot seat right away. And you don't see this very often in sports, where somebody walks into a job and it's like, yo, you're immediately on the hot seat. Like, if this is sideways by Christmas.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Gwynn had 107 career at-bats against Greg Maddux. Never struck out once.
Oh, that's nuts.
In 107 times. 107. Cam, if you took the modern player and said, are you going to face Maddux 107 times in a row? Like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and these guys, they'd strike out like 62 times type thing.
Exactly.
They'd be like 80 times. They'd be like whiffing.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
5-year contract. It's just, I bring it up only because who cares, Scott? It's just mine. Jaren Jackson Jr., good player. Don't get me wrong. $50 million a year. You know, we all bitch and complain about the Juan Soto deals and the Ohtani deals, and you get guys like Jaren Jackson making $50 million a year.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.